that shift, when it pierced my consciousness that my son still is, was incredible. The setting is we were in the hospital room. A friend of ours burst in and told us a medicine man had sought her out and said, "A little boy sent me to find you." And she burst in out of breath and shared that at one of those moments where we were all incredibly low, especially me. And it literally took my breath away. I mean, because I had no experience with death at all. I mean, I was one of those guys, if there was a friend who had a passing of a family member or a friend or something, I wasn't there. So I never thought about it. It didn't apply to me until all of a sudden it did. So when she burst in and said what she said about a little boy approaching this medicine man and to get us a message, it literally took my breath away. I went from being curled up to smiling. My eyes were wide open. My energy shifted in an instant. And my thought was, my son still is. My son still is. He loves us so much, he got us a message. And my next thought was, why didn't I know? Why didn't I know it worked this way? And my journey began. I shake my head emphatically, and I'm a guy, and part of my job description is I'm oblivious. I've said that to others that I didn't know about this before. And I've had some of the people I've spoken with over the years before Quinton transitioned, and they said, "Ernie, we talked about this stuff all the time." But I didn't have any religious background. I never dwelled on it. I didn't consider myself spiritual. I didn't talk like this. I didn't walk like this. I was petrified to speak. I mean, for me, I guess to the point is, I felt like I was a blank slate. I thought my son was gone completely. So when I get a message from him, and then I begin to get signs from him, there were epiphanies after epiphanies after epiphanies. And I went from thinking death was final to, what do you mean? There's no death. Well, wait a second, we got to talk about this. I have to write a book about this. And so on. It's been wild. First, it was, you're not in control. And the big one is that he's eternal. There is no death. He showed us that by his actions. And it goes to follow, to go down that road. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? It goes to follow that we are eternal too. So that hand in hand with his signs came a multitude of reading, everything Dr. Brian Weiss, everything Dr. Michael Newton, James Van Praagh, Heaven is Surreal, and the list goes on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at my life completely differently and, understanding why this keeps happening to me, because it's an opportunity to learn and break a cycle. I guess more to your question, to be more present, to be more focused on what's important, to give my best to my family instead of my best to the world. There are multiple messages in that, but it's not like he said, "Hey, Dad, this is what you got to do, ABC." They're implied messages. Big one for me, because in the opening chapter of the first book, I talk about very forcefully that I wasn't there for my family. And I've had men come to me who read that first chapter, and they came to me in tears saying, "When I picked up your book, I didn't realize I'd be reading about myself." So it's amazing how the book and the books impact different people different ways. You know what? I can't take credit for it. And I know you know what I'm saying. I can't take credit for any of it. The words just came. We were living in Colorado, so we were not aware of Helping Parents Heal. And Helping Parents Heal was just being founded at that time, no coincidences, in Arizona. So my journey with grief and awakening was very odd and unusual, in that in a matter of weeks, you couldn't shut me up. I had something to say. In a matter, coming from a place of not knowing anything, I was so excited. I mean, what a dichotomy. I was so excited about Quinton. He's visiting, and that I had to tell everybody. And people told me, Ernie, you have to write a book. But I was literally walking up to strangers. The first time I got it in front of a group, and it was videotaped talking about this, was 7 weeks after the accident. In fact, grieving's a challenge for couples. My wife was annoyed with me. She said, you don't even care that our son passed. You just want to tell the story. Thankfully, I had the presence of mind to say, and just walk away. But she came to that first public speaking event with me. And when we walked out hand in hand. And she said, this isn't a story. We have to share this. 7 weeks after. I mean, it's just, and for the first 4 years, it was just like that. I was like a man possessed. I was trying to change the world. Got Facebook, and posting things, quotes, all of it. So speaking all the time to individual people or groups. To answer your question, we moved to Arizona, back to Arizona. It was the end of 2012. The accident caused my wife and I, significant injuries, so we could no longer really tolerate the cold. So we ended up back in Arizona, and I think a friend of mine told me about the group, and I showed up, I think it was February or March of 2013, and we've been together since. We've relatively recently started using that term, and not everybody refers to themselves that way. Some people think it's a little woo-woo, and some people aren't really ready or might not understand it. But the term speaks for itself, and it's the beauty of the human journey. I mean, to go through what we've been through, to be at the lowest point, and to wipe the dirt off, to wipe the blood off, to put the flames out, to stand up and literally begin to shine and become a beacon of hope for others. It is a quite appropriate term. It is, I'm fond of saying, once you get it, once you know that your kids are alive and well on the other side, we've got a sacred obligation to tell others. We have to share. We have to help others. We have to share this. And people aren't ready until they're ready. The goal would be to open people's minds to this before tragedy strikes. But the way we learn is we only learn when we're in it. But some people are figuring it out and hearing us, even though they haven't faced this type of tragedy. And that's a blessing too. I have all of that and more. It's a challenging path, and I often tell people, grieve, cry. Don't try to short circuit it. Candidly, I've annoyed some people who are new to the path because I tend to giggle and get excited because I know there's no death, and that's okay. It's okay to be annoyed with somebody. And many of them that have said that to me, they figure it out down the road and then they understand. But honor the grieving. You've got to process that grieving any way you can. If you're a couple, I know it's hard. Try to do so together. There are no magic words. You can't make it go away. Sometimes it's just holding each other. Go through it together as best you can. Seek out people like us who help to raise your vibration, help you to realize that there's no death. And it truly is a raising of a vibration. One of the things I truly love, it's a little risky, but I love meeting one-on-one or even with a small group of people who are new to the path. And they will insist, I've not had any signs. And typically, I'll very softly and very gently walk them through all of the signs Quinton has gave us, and then sometimes begin looking and talk about seeing something out of the corner of your eye. And I had one person who told me they didn't have any signs just the night before that had happened. She had taken her glasses off and wondering what was wrong with her eyes. I said, well, that was your mom. I know what that was. Now you have to acknowledge it. To the question, my biggest joy is to help people begin to recognize the signs for themselves. That's a big part of it. I mean, and that epitomizes my journey, because through the grace of God or the strength of Quinton or whatever, I was able to recognize Quinton's signs and short circuit my grieving process, because I was all ready to go in a very not nice place. So recognizing the signs and having somebody to talk to, somebody that can hold you and let you dump on them with the heavy stuff, all of that's important. All of it and more. It's about going through it together. You can't go through this alone. Come to us. Let us talk together. What's on your mind? I had a wonderful time this past Sunday, presenting to a small group of 16 at a Helping Parents Heal meeting, and half of them, maybe more, had never heard me speak. And like I said, I tend to get animated and excited and giggly, and I annoy myself. So over the years, I've tried to mute myself a little bit, but I began to talk about the signs, and I always came back to dead people don't send signs. Lost people don't send signs. This isn't a hope. This isn't a belief. This is fact. This is fact. Now go do your own research. Go do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Go do your own research. And I love it when when a meeting starts and, people don't know what to expect, or they're feeling a little low and uncertain. And within 15 minutes, people are smiling. That's what it's all about. I pointed it out. I said, look, do you see what we just did here? We changed the vibration in this room. Do you see how we did that? Now our kids can get with us, can connect with us in a more easily manner. I mean, it's, again, fellowship, doing it together. Don't do it alone. I'm looking forward to being on the panel and us, the energy we create together and sharing our experiences. I mean, transformative experiences take all manner and shape. And I think our individual experience that we've had, there's something to be said. I mean, there's something to be said about waking up in this manner, because too many people, they expect that they're never supposed to smile again, and nothing's ever going to be better again. And again, to go through the passing of a child and to wake up and start burning bright, there's something to be said about that journey, and it may help some without having to go through it themselves, which would be a massive gift. It is incredible. Because I've been to a few of these. It's magical to go into a room, whether it's 50 or 100 or 500, to go into a room where everybody's vibrating at a higher level. You end up kind of on a natural high. There's nothing better than being able to do that and seeing where spirit guides you to talk to somebody or somebody to talk to you. It's where magic happens, and you're in there, you're on a spiritual high, you walk out of there, you're on a spiritual high. It's nothing better than being there in person. And, our Helping Parents Heal conference, here we had 500 people, 500 grieving parents. Nobody in the hotel knew it was a group of grieving parents because we're laughing and giggling. And that's what being present in person can do. It's incredible. Be kind to yourselves. Take time. Develop your own spiritual practice. It doesn't have to, don't put pressure on yourself. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Just take some quiet time for yourself. And it's, it sounds so simple, and you would think that I do it all the time, but I always fall right into the busyness. And when I take time for myself, it just grounds me. So just take time.